I just wanted to process the heaviness, all of the crazy thoughts that were going on in my brain. That's literally all I wanted to do. Bullied me into becoming an author. I wasn't fully convinced, but I kept writing, I kept writing, I kept writing. Never did I think in the middle of my depressive wave would spark this side quest to becoming a self-published author. If you're just as surprised as I am, then I encourage you to stick around for this year's Vlogmas 2024 here on my channel. Well, hello, friend and fellow adventurer. Welcome back to the channel. I am so glad that you are here. If you're new around these parts, my name is Kayla. I am a multi-passionate creative. I am very anti-hustle culture. I'm very anti-niching. I'm all about working within the capacity you currently have and going the pace of grace, which usually means going slow. If that's something that you feel like you want to hang out and be a part of, please stick around. I would love to have you. We are here for day one of Vlogmas on this channel. Last year I tried to do a Vlogmas and I made it most of the way through, but for the next 12 days of Christmas, I am going to be sharing my journey, my side quest to becoming a self-published author. And today, like I said, is day one. So why not start at the beginning? This is my origin story. Like I already mentioned, I went through a pretty significant depressive wave at the end of 2023. I really wasn't expecting it. And while depression is something that I have struggled on and off with throughout my life, usually when I hit a wave of depression, I have my tools in place. I have my toolkit. I know what to do. I've gone to therapy. My faith is really important in processing any kind of depression or anxiety waves that come my way. But this one just was very, very scary. I had not experienced that dark of a depressive wave probably since I was in college, which was, I don't know, 12 to 15 years ago. I just remember waking up one day and having these thoughts of like, I wonder if I want to be here. And I knew this one was gonna be a doozy. So I immediately reached out to a therapist to help me walk through this depressive wave. I reached out to my close friends as well as my husband, obviously, just to keep an eye on me, just to kind of track and make sure that I was using the tools in my toolkit to work through it. Where this self-publishing journey really begins is when my therapist, she suggested that I started journaling. Now, I used to journal when I was younger. I'm not a huge fan of journaling. I am not a huge fan of journaling. It just feels, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't really help me process ideas. And part of that is because I think the way I journaled when I was younger no longer serves me. So I need to find a new way to journal. But I just really felt like journaling was not going to be helpful. So instead, I started writing a story with no plans of ever really finishing that story or where I was going to go with it. I wrote, I think maybe the first 4 or 5 paragraphs, sent it to a writing buddy of mine, and she said, I need you to finish this story. I need to read this story, whatever this is ridiculously good. You need to write this story. I just wanted to process the heaviness, all of the crazy thoughts that were going on in my brain. That's literally all I wanted to do. And my friend saw something in it. I always say that Becca bullied me into becoming an author, and I mean that in the nicest way. She didn't actually bully me, and I do not regret it. Neither does she. Where I got the idea for Wrought in Iron is going to be the first book. But where I got this idea was from a friend that I met back in high school. So this would have been 20 years ago now. Her name is Nasim, and she was on her Instagram stories around this time, and she was talking about how she loves reading, she loves fiction, she loves fantasy, but she never sees a main character with her name, Nasim. It's not a common name, it's a Persian name. And so I, in that moment, thought, well, I'm not planning on really taking this story anywhere, so I'll give her Nassim's name. That's my main character's name. Aside from picking Nassim as my main character, I really didn't know where I was going. I had this image, I had this scene in my mind, and I just wrote it, and that was it. But really what I discovered as I kept writing was I was writing a story that I needed to read but couldn't find. I am a huge YA fantasy and new adult fantasy fan. I think my season of that kind of reading is on pause indefinitely. I don't know if I'll ever come back. Hopefully I will one day, because I think that particular genre did get me back into reading. However, everywhere that I was looking in YA and new adult fantasy, I was seeing particular tropes that just I couldn't relate to. I needed a heroine, I needed a hero, a protagonist who looked like me, who had experienced some of the things that I had experienced. Everywhere I looked, the main heroine or main protagonist was really, really skinny, really, really ridiculously beautiful, to the point where like nobody's ever been that beautiful. Between 18 and 20 years old, incredibly overpowered, but I feel like they don't necessarily deserve the powers they have. Like, they're strong, but they're overpowered. These really short training sequences, or all of a sudden, you have this power, you're the strongest person we've ever seen in our 1,000+ years of existence. And if you've read any of these series, you know exactly what I'm talking about. All of those protagonists, while I don't necessarily have anything directly against them, in this particular dark moment of my life, they were not helpful because I couldn't relate. I really couldn't relate to a protagonist like that. And so that is how I started writing this story. Really, I just wanted to have a main character who was BIPOC, curvy, not in a tiny, tiny body. Somebody who was older, who had seen some things, who had wrestled through some things, who had actually worked their way up so that they are powerful and they are amazing, but they're not 18-year-old assassins. I'll leave it at that. I finally put the character that I needed to see most in this darkest moment of my life on the page, because if I couldn't find it, and I'm sure that there are stories out there. There are millions upon billions of books out there, so certainly there are stories out there. But the books that you see on the shelves, for the most part, do not explore the kind of characters that I have created in this story. So with all of that, I began writing. I decided to participate in NaNoWriMo in 2023, and I just thought I will get out as much of this story as I possibly can. And the more I kept writing, the more I realized I really loved my story. But no matter how much I loved my story, I decided I was not going to share this. I was not going to self-publish this. I was not going to query for trad publishing. It was just going to be my own piece of art that I was doing for myself. Nobody other than me and Becca would read it, maybe my husband. And Becca gently kept pushing back and saying, I understand your fears of not wanting to go down the path of making this more public, but I really think you'd be doing the world a disservice by not sharing the story, because it's really, really good. I wasn't fully convinced, but I kept writing, and then somewhere towards the beginning of this year, I decided I think I love this story enough, and I think that I've built up enough confidence that I think I'm gonna go for it. Let's self-publish, let's do the thing, and it feels really good. It feels really, really good to know that I am doing this crazy side quest that I never planned, but I love this story. I love the characters. I love the themes that are explored. I love the tropes. Everything about this story I'm really, really proud of. Even if only I read it, even if everybody hates it, I'm still so proud of this story. And so here we are. My goal is to self-publish in May of 2025. If everything goes well, I should be getting the manuscripts back from beta readers pretty soon here, and then we will do some more edits, and then more edits, some ARC readers, and then if all goes well, in May of 2025 it will be released. I do have some margin in there if all doesn't go as well as I expect it to, then I might have to push it back to July or August, which I'm honestly okay with. It is totally okay if I need to push this back, because honestly, I wrote a book, and that's a big win for me. Well, friends and fellow adventurers, that is my origin story on how I got depressed and accidentally wrote a fantasy duology, and now I'm going to be self-publishing it. If you would like to continue on this journey, then please stick around for the 12 days of Vlogmas here on my channel. I'm going to be giving you the backstage pass of how on earth did I do this? If you are interested in getting even more exclusive content and behind the scenes of my self-publishing journey, along with all the 500,000 creative projects I am doing, then consider joining the Rooted Guild on Patreon. There is a free tier so you can join for free. I just want you to come along if you are interested in coming along and learning more about this journey. I will see you tomorrow, where we will dive into how I built my story and how I discovered that I am a pantser when it comes to outlining my story. I'll see you next time. Bye.